Hello and welcome to Frank's School. Well, this looks like a mess, but I think I'm ready to teach this now. I had to do some thinking first. It's the ninth day of the fourth year. This is the sixth video of this day. What I've done is I've put 1 through 6 all in. I will put them all into one playlist. What to call it? I'm going to call it end of semester. Because what happened was at the very end of the first semester, I was going to take a break and I realized that I had some things I really needed to address. And so here it is. And now I didn't anticipate it at all. And then at first I thought, well, one video. But there was so much that I began to think, this is like an hourglass where I have taught about so much. And it all pertains to what I've talked about in these 5 videos. 6 now. But I'm going to get past it, and when I get into the second semester, it should get much easier in a way, more straightforward. The history of Britain, which will be the major thing probably, well, that's going to be in chronological order. And I'll be working off Simon Schama's work, or Schama. That's nice. That'll be a break. Portugal 2015, I'll talk about the trip that's coming. That should be fun and easy. Water, fresh water. In a way it's simpler. But here, for the last 6 days, I've barely even known exactly what I was doing. I just had all the stuff I really needed to teach about, I thought. So I thought, well, it's a little bit like an hourglass. Maybe it's like a bottleneck. It's squeezed up, and I didn't want to go on until I dealt with these things. But it's also maybe going to be like a lens through which to see these other subjects, a lens to show how I see things. But before I go on with this, let me deal with this up here. In the last video, when I talked about Auserberg and the placement of villages, well, I should have mentioned avalanches, because when you get into the Alps, you just can't put a village anywhere you want. That's not exactly defense. It's selection of a site that an avalanche is not going to shoot through. And there aren't that many, so they're prime. In a similar way, floods, you've got to think about flooding. Auserberg compared to Brieg. Brieg, which is down at the head of the valley, is not really prone to avalanches, but floods come through with their rocks and stuff. They're close together, you've got to contrast. Beavers, why are they there? Well, I'd mentioned that when you dam up even a little bit of water, you get a contour line. Well, beavers do that naturally. And, it's in a way, it's a case where you could imagine primitive man learning from beavers as his, or other creatures in other parts of the world, as his teachers. When I talked about 1 tablespoon of gasoline being equal to 1 man-hour, well, the pyramids are sometimes studied in those kind of terms. How many man-hours did it take to build the pyramids? Because that's not so much delicate well, it is precision work, but so much of the work was actually getting the stones there and in place. Well, the fuel was not gasoline, it was not diesel fuel, and people like to sort of think, well, how much would it take nowadays? It was beer. Not the kind of beer we drink now. It was more like mushy bread, I think. But that was the fuel. That's what supplied the kilocalories for those workers. And then finally, this is in connection with what I'd last taught about. There comes a point where water is not just welling at the surface. You have to lift it. And then you have a well. And sometimes those wells start to get lower and lower, and you have to lift it further. Well, lifting water involves energy, kilocalories expended. That might be the use of that tablespoon or 1 man-hour of somebody lifting water. Well, let me get rid of that because that has to do with the last video. This has to do with what's happened for the last 6 videos. The prospectus I had just been working on, and that's a playlist. Most of these are playlists. There's 11 videos there. This would be the 12th, I guess. That's maybe, I'll add that. So this will be the 12th to show how it fits in. What am I doing around here and what am I trying to do? The trades. Well, as a way of explaining the prospectus, I was dealing with the trades. That's 10 videos of its own in that playlist, and I think I'll add another one because this is very much about those two. Now, to understand the prospectus, you really, to understand it, I mean, you'd have to go to Wedge's paradigm. Oh, I didn't put the number down. Sorry, don't know what it is. But that would be like, a week's or 2 weeks viewing. No, not that long, but Wedge's paradigm, that is a playlist. And also, to understand both of these, and the Decentralist Manifesto, again, a week or more of viewing just to deal with the Decentralist Manifesto, to understand the prospectus and or the trades. So you see, all this stuff was coming together. Now, and action, decentralist action and inaction, denact and inact is what I call it later. There's 3 videos about that which I've pulled out separate from that one. They apply. Now, in the teaching that I've done, or the discussion in the last 6 videos, I have referred to all these things. And I'm just going to write them down so you could find them quickly if you decided, well, I want to try to see what he's talking about. That would be a huge investment of time. I mean, I think you'd be talking about a month or 2 months' time to try to understand all this stuff. Well, Peter Quintran, the man that I met on the airplane flying home from Portugal in 2013, what he told me is in these 2 videos, second year, 170th day, first video and second video. That isn't a playlist. I thought about it. The Forgotten Village that was here, and then forgotten. I talk about it some. Well, there's 20 videos about it. That's basically archaeological to make sure I had recorded what I knew. Gilgamesh, I refer to Gilgamesh sometimes for one thing because it's right at that edge of prehistory and history, the oldest known story. Well, there's 7 videos. That's very early in my teaching. That's in the very first year. I deal with that. The ruins of a mill in Galicia, a mill belonging to Chaussee. Well, there's 13 views about that. I mentioned that one because Shirley and I went to the very extreme, as far away from the cities as you could get, sort of like Sir Calidor. And if you want to actually see what that looks like, boy, there's more I could say about that. And I'm going to contact Chaussee directly to find out if there's anything new. The 57 mills at Picon and Folon, well, they're also in Galicia. And there's these are playlists. Everyone is a playlist, and there's 10 videos of that. If you decide, well, I'd like to see what he's talking about. Well, there they are. The Castros, de Santa Trega, and at Eposend. It has a name, but it's near the little city, I guess I'll call it, of Eposend. There's 4 videos of that in the playlist. The workshops at the Museum of Decorative Arts in Lisbon. That's where I so much wish that I had filmed better, but my camera was running out of memory, and well, there are reasons. I hope this year that Thomas, maybe, and Shirley too, but especially Thomas, will film better, because he by nature films well. And I'm going to ask them for me to go do that tour of those workshops. That has to do, of course, with the trades. Austerberg as a sample village. I talk about it a good bit. Well, I made a playlist out of it, and there's 8 videos. I walk all around that village by dawn. It's pretty in itself, really. Ballenberg, I mention it. It's maybe not quite so critical, but it sort of follows. If you like what you see at Austerberg, well, go on to Ballenberg. It's the open air museum in Switzerland, and there's 5 videos in that playlist. And in Hagen, that's the open air museum devoted to the very early Industrial Revolution that Thomas and Shirley and I went to last year. There's 18 videos of that. And these are pretty much all playlists except for that one. So there you have it. I mean, I think you might have to be as crazy as me to decide that you're going to study all this stuff. But I thought, well, the least I can do is offer it to you and explain that now we're past it. We're going to go into this, and it should be simpler. So I think tomorrow, being Monday, I think tomorrow already we're going to be there. Bye for now.